Thrilled to be joined by the offensive coordinator of the Fighting Illini, Barry Lunney Jr. Coach, kind of a mixed bag offensively last year. So as you looked back and got ready for the offseason, which obviously includes dipping into the portal, includes trying to figure out maybe some schematic changes, what were the things that you wanted to address to get it to where you want it to be?
Well, I think every year is a new year, and you learn from the previous experiences. And one of the things I think most offensive coordinators and teams do is, they evaluate everything at the end of the year and see what you did well, what you need to do better. You learn from people. You go to clinics. You try to keep up with what's going on. And so, the 2024 offense at Illinois is going to look different than 23 based on the strength of who we have and who we have returned, who we've added to the picture, to your point. I feel good about where we're at, but certainly, you want to learn from all your experiences, the good ones and the bad ones. And we've really gone overboard to make sure we emphasize those learning opportunities that we had last year.
Well, I know one of the guys that Illini fans are really excited about is Zachary Franklin, transfer wide receiver. You had him at Texas San Antonio. He put up remarkable numbers. Tell us a little bit about what makes him special and how he's fit in here in Champaign.
Well, he's fit in nicely, and he came in a lot late in the summer, and but has acclimated well, and the football part of it has been somewhat smooth for him. We've made some changes over the years since I was last running an offense that he was a part of, but for the most part, a lot of it's a carryover, and most of football is just a translation from most everybody's running the same kind of concept. So anyway, that part of it has been pretty seamless for him, and one of the things that just his experience. He's played in a lot of games. He's like a lot of the guys. There's a lot of guys across college football that are in their fifth or sixth year of playing, and he's one of those. He's played a lot of football games. He's caught a lot of passes. So I think he brings experience, even though it was at the group of five level. I think there's a translation that's good football at all levels. I mean, 130-some teams are playing Division I football, and there's really good football at every level. And so I think the experience, the success he's had is certainly a great trait. And he's just kind of a natural football player. He's helped our room. Excited about the wide receiver room. I think they've responded to him well, and I think he's elevated the room, and I think that's a positive thing.
Let's talk about the depth that you now have on the offensive line. You've got, seems like you can roll maybe, 8, 9, 10 guys in their positions?
We'd hope to be to get that, to have a good, solid two deep. I do think there's no doubt. That's a kind of a strange statement.
Yeah.
I do think there's no doubt. There is no doubt that we're healthier. We've got better depth. We've got experience. The portal pieces that we added this offseason have been key and have been really good additions. But some of the young guys have developed nicely. Bart does a nice job with our room there. So, we're going to go, that room's going to steer us, and we've got to do a better job of running the football, starting with me and the schematic element, and we have to run the ball and stay healthy. And but it does start up front, and they take a great deal of pride in that, and I like where that group's at right now.
Yeah, I think you'd agree that college football now is really run and dictated by the type of quarterback you have under center. How have you seen your quarterback grow from last year to this point, not only on the field, but also as a leader in the locker room?
Well, it's just like anything in life. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become. And I can see a great deal of comfort and familiarity that Luke has now with our system, with the surroundings, with our coaching staff, the training, whatever it is. I mean, it's just like it's a second time to go for fall camp and in this system. And so I see that, it comes through really easily. And then obviously to have started and played, really a full, 9 or 10, I can't remember the number, but 9 games or so, that matters. And so I think you looking back on things as the coordinator, quarterback coach, I see last year, I see the markings of a guy that's in his first year. He was super. The talent hasn't changed. He's a talented player, smart player, but just, sometimes you don't recognize those things until you look back. And looking back, I can see now how much more comfortable he is now than he was last year, and I think that's a good thing for our team.
Offensive coordinator Barry Lunney Jr. Thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you all.
Well, guys, thanks for taking the time. Let's talk a little bit about the offseason, not necessarily training camp that you're in right now, but some of the things you were doing to get prepared.
I say we just did it. We had a long 8 weeks of summer workouts, just focusing on getting bigger, faster, stronger, just keeping the standard, and then also just working on growing as a team, not only on the field and in the weight room, but also off the field, just having events as a team, also as the offense and the defense, and just focus on creating a big family here.
What are some of the events you guys were doing?
We went tubing, we went bowling. I know the defense had like a movie night, so just do fun things around. There's not really much to do in Champaign, but just anything just to be around my brothers is pretty fun.
Champagne's a great place.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a nice college town, though.
Yeah.
It's a nice college
How
town.
have you grown?
Yeah,
From last year to this year.
Yeah, coming off last season, not having a season that we particularly wanted to have, having a lot of talent in this room, coming off a season 2 years ago with Pat and some of those guys who won a lot of games, did a lot of great things here, and, coming off last year, not having the season we wanted to have, man, just trying to get back to that. I mean, simply, not making things complicated, kind of relying, on the foundations of what this program is built on, being tough, smart, dependable, whether that's physically or mentally. And, Pat touched on it a little bit, man, but, for me, growing my mental capacity, my mental side of my life and of this game has been crucial for me, and I can see it in the first few days of camp.
Am I hearing from you that you gained that voice? You're starting to feel that leadership voice and being confident about what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some people yesterday, man. I feel really in control out there. I really do, man. I feel my most confident self, and, I think that's a product of the help that I've, kind of obtained throughout the offseason with whether it's, guys who have helped me grow my faith, guys who've, the sports psychologists here at, the University of Illinois who have given me tools to really flourish, and I can see that coming to fruition, like I said, through these first 2 days of camp, and, looking forward to, using those tools throughout the whole season.
Talk to me a little bit about the guys up front and also the running backs as well. So sprinkle the running backs into that as well.
Yeah, they're big time. We added, a new left tackle addition from, the New Mexico area, J.C. Davis, who had crazy production where he was at. Is an awesome player, awesome leader for us too, and just fits right into our culture and what we're trying to do. And have a lot of returners too, like Josh Cruz, Zach Chrysler, Josh Geske, Hunter Whiteneck, and just a lot of depth there. Even added Melvin Priestley, from down south, who brings an edge to our offense that is very, very unique. And trusting those guys is key for me. And their brotherhood, their bond is unlike anything I've ever been a part of or seen. And getting into the backs too, a room that has a lot of experience as well. Super, super deep. Starting off with Josh McCray, who's, been a part of this program for a while, and, Aiden Lawfrey, who brings such a burst and such an explosiveness, to our offense, and is super unique and dynamic. And then you have Caden Fagan, who is, the biggest dude on our team, and he's a running back. But, he's a freak. His
dad was in my running back room many years ago, right?
Ain't no secret, too.
Yeah.
He's special.
How about you? Tell me about your group.
I mean, great group. We added an addition, Zakari Franklin, great guy, came from Ole Miss, played in this system, so we kind of understand how things work on this offense. We got a lot of young guys, looking forward to them stepping up. Malik LZ, Ashton, Canary, all those guys. We got a lot of great talent, a lot of good weapons, and I'm excited to see you guys this year.
So Houston Griffith isn't holding you back at all, is he?
No, Houston, coming from the defensive side, he got a lot of tools, a lot of things to teach us. He's still learning too, but Houston, great guy, great grad assistant. He does what Coach says. I mean, he brings us in, we watch film together, so he teaches us a lot just coming from that defensive side.
All right, I'll give you a couple dollars later for that. What are some of the things you guys, both of you can take this question, that's going to be key for this offense to get back on track where you want it to be?
Basically, just keeping things simple, not doing anything crazy, just sticking to the basics, sticking to what works for us as an offense.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but, not making things complicated.
Yep.
Football's, I don't think, is a complicated game. It's about the players, around me and around Pat, and the coaches putting us in great positions to be successful, and that's what they're doing. And, like I said, with guys like this beside me, Pat Bryant, and, all those skill players around me, up front, behind me, relying on our foundations, our principles will get us as far as we need to go, as far as we want to go, wherever it takes us.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for the time. Appreciate it. Stay healthy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And joined now by the head coach of the Fighting Illini, Bret Bielema. Coach, we catch you really early in camp here. So for people who haven't been through a preseason training camp, give us a sense of what you're working on now and how that may differ from what you're working on, say, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, today is practice number 4 in the first week. Every team in college football gets 25 days. Plain and simple, you get 25 days before your opener. How those lay out kind of depends. Some schools start a little early, some schools start a little late. We actually play on a Thursday night, so we started 2 days before pretty much everybody else. I know there was some people that had come through that had been in SMU. I think they're week 0, so schools in week 0 started already. But really the first 3 days we concentrated on red area install, a lot of basics, fundamentals. You're just kind of getting newcomers. We have 45 new guys in the fall camp that have never been through fall camp out of 120. So it's really laying the basics. But today we'll go out on the field and we'll do a lot of work out in the field. That'll be early down, which is first and second down, kind of a coaching emphasis.
There's always going to be a focus among the fan base on the quarterback spot. Luke Altmyer had an interesting year, I thought, last year. He had a 3-touchdown game. He had a 4-interception game. He had a lot that was somewhere in the middle. You were really singing his praises when we were talking earlier. In what ways have you seen him evolve to be more consistently the 3-touchdown guy?
You know, hopefully the more time you spend with us and the more opportunities you get better. And I really, you know, the reason we recruited Luke, he's extremely talented. He's got a very accurate arm. You know, we've been very fortunate. And then going back to my last stop before that, the last 6 quarterbacks that have started for us as seniors have all signed NFL contracts. And I think Luke is progressing down that line. He throws the ball as anybody I've ever had. He's kind of a deceptive runner. Like, I don't think you look at him and see, boy, this guy's going to tear it up on the ground, but he can really run and he can scoot. And he's just really, what I believe, a methodical guy in the way he thinks. He doesn't make things up. He sees what he sees. He'll be the first to tell you, Coach, I didn't see that, or Coach, I saw this, right? And sometimes guys will tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And I just really like the growth he's made from last year. He ended this season a little prematurely, got injured in that Minnesota game, and that's when Paddock come in and finished it out. But I really like the growth he's made already.
When I think about your great teams through the years, whether Wisconsin or subsequent to that, good teams in Arkansas, your best team here, you did 2 things really well. You ran the football really well, and you played great defense.
Right.
So last year there was drop-off in both of those. Let's talk about each unit. Let's talk about the run game first. So the running back room, offensive line, where do you feel you are there as opposed to where you were a year ago?
You know, 3 principles in our program. Our guys will recite this. Like, good football teams do 3 things. They run the ball, defend the run, and cover kicks. So offensively, starting off running the ball, you got to have the right guy with the ball, right? And I really get excited. Josh McCray, Caden Fagan, Aiden Lawfrey, Jordan Anderson is another guy, a newcomer, Khalil Valentine. There's a lot of guys in that room who haven't really done it on paper yet, but have really looked good at practice. So I'm excited there. And then I think universally, one of the things we recommitted to back here last year in January is from tackle to tackle, we need to get better up front, right? Not just by the people that are there, but also the depth that is there. And I feel better about that right now than I've ever felt probably during my entire time here at Illinois. Just really like some unknown guys, right? But J.C. Davis, who I think might be our best tackle prospect and might be one of the best since I've been here, has been in New Mexico the first 3 years, right? He's an all-conference player. We got him through the portal, beat out a lot of people because we thought he was the best out there, and we're really excited. Melvin Priestley comes in from Grambling and really excited about what he's done and brought. Josh Krutz, a man in the middle, obviously is in his blood, right? We all know the Krutz name and what it is, but he has made a big jump from where he was a year ago and just being able to handle everything from A to Z.
What about defense? And you and I were talking a little bit earlier. It's a challenging spot for Aaron Henry. He takes over for what was statistically one of the best defenses, not just in Illinois history, but really in quite some time in the Big Ten, led the nation in scoring D. It was a challenging spot to be in. You ended up not having as good a year defensively. You lost the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in Jerjon Newton, yet I know you think this can be a really good defense. So where have you seen the jumps? How does it go from where it was a year ago to where you think it can
Really,
be?
I think to go through those things last year, I think tough people are made of tough times, and last year they definitely went through that. We went through that defensively, not only players but coaches, and you know, one of the things that excites me about Aaron and our defensive staff is this is an extremely close staff that takes a lot of pride in how they do their daily business, and really have seen them grow during the out of season, but also just player acquisition, right? Like everybody wants to talk about. We've developed the players that we have, right? So Miles Scott, Xavier Scott, you know, Matt Bailey, who missed all of last year, is back. Those 3 guys in the back end. Now you bring in a guy, Terrence Brooks, Torrey Cox, some other DBs that have just grown. Cadel Patterson, really excited to see where he's at. And then up front, you know, you lose 2 really good players in Johnny and Keith, and also a couple interior players. But now, you know, I would say Dennis Briggs, a Florida State grad transfer, has been very impressive. Our starting nose right now is T-Raw Edwards, who we got from Northwestern 3 years ago, who has really just put in his time, his diligence, and done a lot of things to get us excited about what's going up front. Edge players, I'm excited about. Guys in the middle, a lot of experience. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this group is at.
One last thing I want to ask you about, really exciting home game against Michigan in October. It's exciting on a couple levels. Obviously, anytime you welcome in the defending national champs, I think that's a big deal. But it's also the rededication at Memorial Stadium commemorating really one of the greatest individual performances in the history of college football. For people who may not know kind of the backstory of this game and what you guys are going to do, give us a little insight.
Yeah, literally our athletic director, Josh Whitman, as you know, played here. He's been talking about this game since the first phone call I had with him, the 100-year anniversary of Red Grange and all the things that go into his history against Michigan over 100 years ago. The performance he made not only resonates in Illinois fan base, but college football. And now to have a game dedicated literally almost to 100 years to the day is pretty cool. We'll have some throwback uniforms, a lot of celebration leading up to it. But I would say, obviously it appeals to the fan base and the history, but this is a new time in college football, right? And to throw some retro uniforms in there, and then for us personally, we had a chance to play Michigan 2 years ago. They were a really good football team 2 years ago. We got beat on a fourth down play at the end of the game. It was a nip and tuck game, right? And obviously they've gone through some things, some great success, but also a lot of things around that. So to get them to come to our place and to play in a stadium is awesome. Next year, it's the first time in my career I've been able to say this. We're going to play a game at Penn State, right? And Rutgers out there, two marquee games on the East Coast. We're going to hop on a plane and fly at a game and play at Oregon, one of the best stadiums and venues in college football. One of the best teams are out there. And we're going to play a 100-year anniversary game at home in Memorial against Michigan. That's an exciting football schedule. I don't care who you are or where you're at. That should jump out to you, and I think our guys are excited.
Well, looking forward to seeing how the Illini navigate that schedule. Always appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dave.
Bret Bielema, thanks so much.
Seth, thanks for taking the time to join me. Talk to me a little bit about how things are progressing to this point.
I think they've been well. With our first day of halfback pads yesterday, so there's a lot of hitting. It was scrappy yesterday, a little gritty.
You were starting most of it, weren't you?
Yeah.
You see? Look
Yeah,
at
outside linebacker.
Yeah, it's starting it all.
You know.
What are some of the things that you guys have worked on this offseason to get back to where you want to be as a defense?
Definitely looking at the details. Being more consistent. Just building every day, being greater every day. That's something we work on personally. As a group, as outside linebackers, we work on just being better every day.
What are some of the things that you may work on being? Is it attention to detail that really it's about?
Yeah, definitely paying attention to details, like looking at what the O gives you and tendencies and stuff like that, being able to read those types of plays, that really helps us out.
You told me you guys got together a bit as a group defense. You guys had some outings. Tell me a little bit about the outings and why you wanted to have those outings.
So we started off with like a picnic vibe thing, and
Picnic vibe.
yeah, like a picnic vibe. We went to the park, we cooked some burgers, hot dogs, all that,
You guys are making too much money to be cooking hot dogs and hamburgers, but go on.
Yeah, it was just a really good time just to grow closer as a team. We have the transfer portal allows us a lot of transfers coming in, so it was great to get to know those guys on a more personal level.
Is it hard to get to know the new guys that come in, or is it, how does that really work for a team standpoint?
From my perspective, we're a family, so it was pretty easy to grab those guys and bring them in, and just build that brotherly bond. So it was pretty easy.
When you go on the field, what are some of the things personally you've done to take your game to the next level?
Just basically the little things, like where my stance, my mental, my pad level, stuff like that. Like my coach, we have things we work on each day. Our coach puts it on our desk, take to our desk for things we work on during this camp. So those are things I've been doing.
How often does that change? Some of those notes that are on the desk?
Oh, they're there the whole time. That's what he looked at. We had meetings in the spring, and that's what he saw on tape that we need to work on. So
that's just a reminder for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And what happens if you're not doing it? Paying attention to those reminders.
He's gonna tell you. He definitely gonna tell you.
What are some of the things that really takes this team to the next level? We talked a little bit about it. Attention to detail, focusing on the small things. But physically, what do you guys want to be able to go out, and what type of message do you want to send to offenses that are out there that you go against?
Just have that chip on our shoulder. Just go out there, play our hardest. We got talent. Other teams might have other talent, but we just have to have that chip on our shoulder just to be better, to be that more physical, tough, smart, dependable team.
You guys will be ready, and you'll know you're ready if you're able to accomplish what when you leave camp?
Just be the best team that we can be. Just be a consistent team. Like just elevate each day in camp.
How's the offense been looking to you so far?
Hey, they've been looking great.
Been getting the best of you?
Nah, we
You
got the
sure?
best of them yesterday. And I'm not gonna lie to you.
I don't know. That's not what I heard.
That's not what you heard?
That's not what I heard.
Hey, everyone's opinion's different, you know?
So tell me a little bit about your group, and also talk about the defensive line that really allow you guys to be able to run free some.
Yeah, we got T-Raw, we got Biggs, we got Briggs. Like we got pieces. Like I love those guys. Like those guys are getting up the field, you know, making it hard for the quarterback, you know, putting their hands up, stuff like that, like making it hard. And my group especially, like we got AB, we got Gabe especially, DB. We got a lot of good people in our group.
A lot of pieces, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Looking forward to seeing those pieces this year.
Yes, sir.
Stay safe and have a great year.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Coordinator Aaron Henry joining us now. Aaron, year 2 for you as DC. What are the biggest things you learned in that first year?
Well, you know, I think personally, I think when you go through a year 1 like that, naturally, when you're taking on a new responsibility, there are some things trial and error wise that you just got to go through in year 1. You know, obviously I became a father as well, so in year 2 there are things that you probably wish you wouldn't have did in year 1 that you're doing now. But just from a coordinator standpoint, you know, like as much as, you know, I think that I wanted to make it about scheme, it's truly about your players. And no matter what you did prior to or the year before, your scheme can change within the framework of a season based on the guys you have on your roster. So that was probably one of the biggest takeaways, you know, that I probably, towards the latter part of the season, that I started to understand, like, no matter what your identity was going into that season, it has the possibility to change based on your personnel, you know. And so I think sometimes you got to hit your head a couple of times to kind of realize that, you know, and there was some frustration in that. But looking back at it, I think that I needed that, you know, because you know, sometimes in order to truly get what you, where you want to go, you got to go through some struggles sometimes. And I just sit back and think about, like, had I had a lot of success, you know, year 1, you can kind of get, I guess, arrogant and cocky a little bit. And, you know, it was definitely a learning experience, and I'm really looking forward to year 2.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the personnel that you have for year 2. I think if you look at who you lost from last year, the obvious thing that stands out is you had the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in Johnny Newton. You really lost 2 all Big Ten caliber guys up front. So give us a sense of how you feel that defensive line has come together.
Yeah, well, Johnny and Keith, they were called a law firm for a reason. Both very, very special players. You know, Johnny's Johnny. I mean, I think Johnny's one of those players that at most places you're probably not going to get him. I mean, he's probably like an every 10, 15-year guy, you know, and him and Keith complemented each other so well, you know, that it made it easy for the guys on the second level in terms of fitting runs. And, I mean, Johnny could literally take over a game, right? And when Johnny was banged up, there was Keith. And so maybe we don't have those same caliber players and 2 of them together, but I think collectively with the depth that we ended up bringing in, we truly got some guys that can go. You know, I think with what Coach Jameson has did up front, you know, he kind of quiet guy, hides behind the scenes a little bit, but what he did up front and what he did this offseason and going out and getting some guys that truly add to our pool of D linemen, it's truly special. You know, what we've been able to do the last couple of days, you know, obviously via our install and some things that we've been doing up front, I think we're going to be able to maybe not make up for per player in production, but I think the overall result is going to be just as good.
One of the things that happens when you have those type of players up front, and you talk about Newton, is that there's so much emphasis on trying to make sure he gets his stuff done. And he creates. Do you become a stronger defense when you don't have them? Obviously, you love to have those type of players, but can you be a stronger defense without those high-level players?
I truly think you can, and oftentimes you see that a lot. You know, I just think about the 2022 season, right? People knew about Illinois, but it wasn't until we kind of got into the landscape of the season that you realize, well, dang, Sidney Brown's pretty good, right? Devin Witherspoon, he wasn't really heard of. Like, okay, this cat's pretty good, you know. And so it's not until you kind of get into the flow of things that you understand how talented these players are. We as coaches, we kind of see it early on. You know, we kind of see it throughout fall camp and spring ball. But having a player like Johnny, right, going from a Johnny caliber player, from a coordinator standpoint, like, when you make play calls, yeah, you try to get him in isolations, you know, that he can take advantage of people. But I think at the end of the day, when you lose a cat like that, you can kind of set up your system and your scheme to still utilize those players and get them in one-on-one matchups. It's just that now opponents that we face, they have no idea what we have up front. And it won't be until week 5 or 6 or 7 that people truly understand that, okay, well, that Gabe Atkinson's pretty good. Well, that Seth Coleman, pretty talented, right? That Alec Bryant, the Dennis Briggs, the Daniel Brown. I mean, we got a bunch of different cats up front that can really get after the quarterback. And so it's going to be really exciting moving forward.
Helmet communication this year.
Yes, sir.
How is that going to change the way you do things and also the way the players really respond to you and try to talk to you about what's going on the field?
Well, personally, I love it. You know, I mean, you're talking about literally being able to communicate with a player on the field as the game is in motion based on when the offense decides to snap the ball. You know, teams want to go tempo and hurry up. Great, right? I got answers for that. Teams want to get in a huddle and wait until the last minute, snap the ball. Great, we got answers for that. And so for us, right, it's truly, I mean, from our standpoint defensively, I think it's somewhat of an advantage, you know, just being able to communicate with your guys pre and post snap. You know what I'm saying? Well, obviously not during the play, but once the play is over, you know what I'm saying? I guess I should say pre-snap, you know, that you can get them some information based on things that you've seen throughout the week. And, I mean, will it probably slow offenses down? Maybe. Will more offenses huddle? Maybe. But I truly believe it's to the defense's advantage.
Last question for you. You mentioned being a new father a year ago. I'm 18 years ahead of you on twin girls. What kept you up more during this off season? Late night feedings or thinking about prepping for Oregon's offense?
You know, Coach B always talks about, right, going 1-0, right? And obviously, I mean, what Dan Lannon has done there has been awesome, right? Oregon's got a really talented offense. They got good players to speak as well. But, you know, just truly trying to focus on week 1 opponent and what we got ahead. But them babies kept me up quite some time.
I was going to say, when you going to get to the real?
Them babies kept me up quite some time.
That's the meat of it. Yeah. Don't worry about Oregon's offense when the time comes. You got to get those kids back to sleep.
Yes, sir.
Aaron Henry, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.